Another thing that in our Buddhist practice that we should be able to develop is the skill that we can deal with our own physical pain, because this is something that can be the common thing for most of us. Even when we practice meditation, if we sit for a really long time, most of us find that it's not easy because that physical pain will rise any moment. But in our practice, we're not trying to avoid this reality of life, because that our life is like this. Our human life is something that we can have to deal with. It's the nature of this body, the nature of this life, that eventually that we have to deal with our own physical pain. Thinking about the time that we get old, the time that we get sick, and then we have to go into the hospital, and even the time on our deathbed. Nowadays that people have to deal a lot with problem of cancer, and as you probably know that dealing with cancer is very difficult because that they usually involve a lot of physical pain. So in this way, that if we develop skill to be able to deal with it in a good way, you will be able to find even that in the time that you have to deal with intense pain, you'll be able to stay with it and find even be able to find some inner happiness from it. In our practice, we start from observing. In your sitting meditation, when pains arise, whether it's arise in your knees or your legs or your back, usually Ajahn would encourage you not to look away from it from some time. But again, I don't want to say that we have to do this every time that we are doing sitting meditation. But in some period of time, we could take this opportunity to learn something from being with our physical pain, because it helps us immensely to develop the skill to be with it. And if you observe the pain, when the pains arise in our body, usually the first thing that comes into our mind is that we don't like the pain. We don't want to get it. We don't want to have the pain with us. And if you notice that this kind of the feeling of dislike can grow and grow to the way that we want to get rid of our own pain. We want our pain to be disappear. In this way, suffering starts to arise. Because we want the pain to be disappear, but it stay with us. So learn to observe and seeing that there are usually at least 2 layers of pain here. That there's a layers of pain in the physical level, and the pain from the mind. The mind that doesn't like the pain and want to get rid of the pain. So the first thing that we should try to deal with is the something that is easier to deal, which is the mind. Because the physical pain itself is just there. We cannot get rid of it right away, but we can deal with our own desire to get rid of the pain as quick as we can. So when we observe this one, the desires in the mind to get rid of the pain, and try to deal with it, and try to teach ourselves that sometimes we have to stay with pain for some time. When we can deal with this kind of feeling, this kind of negative thought that come with the pain, pain will be something that you will eventually be able to stay with it for some time, because that it not mixed with the pain from the mind. Another thing that we can do when we are dealing with physical pain is the time that we can try to find our bring in positive energy, bring in positive thought. If we could find a lot of resources that we can bring in inner happiness, thinking about the good thing that you have done in the past, thinking about something that you feel grateful for, thinking about your own respected teachers, how you feel grateful for all those teaching. All of this bring in inner happiness for the mind. Once the mind become happy from all these positive thoughts, you'll be able to stay with that situation that the pains arise more than you would expect that you can do. I have one of my students who got cancer, and then it was her last stage of her cancer. When I visit her, it's the time that she already have to take a lot of morphine to help release her physical pain. But when we talk about the Dhamma, talking about the practice, and also remind her about all the good things that she have done, all the merit that she have made during that she's still strong, and then be able to do it. This brings gladness into the mind, and also make herself very happy about it. That night that I visit her, the nurse come to me and told me that that night she didn't ask for morphine, which means that she can be able to deal with her pain better than the night before. So in this way, I think that there's many ways that we can deal with pain, especially physical pain. If we take time to really observe the pain that arises in the mind, it's not a kind of big lump in itself. Many people find it's unbearable because that we thought that pain is some kind of big thing that we cannot get rid of it, and we have to stay with it. But if you observe it, try to look at it closely, you see that the pain in itself is also impermanent. It's not stay like that forever. It keeps changing all the time. It comes and goes. Usually, if you develop a lot of rightful mindfulness, develop sati to see closely how the pain arises and disappears, you see the cycle of the pain that arises and then disappears. And if you see that clearly, try to focus on the time that the pain disappears. In this way, you'll be able to stay with pain better than focus on only the time that pain brings in something that you don't like, some discomfort feeling, something that makes you feel unhappy. We have to learn that sometimes in life it is like this. We have to deal with the time that we don't like to be with, but we can develop the skill to be with something that we don't like. We are able to find some happiness from being with it by thinking about something else and then bringing in positive or wholesome feeling into this difficult time, and also take these experiences as a lesson for learning about our own life, because we are dealing with this reality of life. And in this way, a lot of meditators find that dealing and observing their own physical pain help them to develop wisdom. develop understandings about how the mind reacts to their own pain. Another thing that I would like to talk about on this topic is that there's many times that I visited some of my lay supporters who are dealing with their own sickness or physical pain, or the elders, the elderlies who are dealing with the physical condition that they cannot be happy with because it cannot be like when they were young again. So a lot of people find this is very difficult because they don't want to be in this situation. They want themselves to be able to do things as they be able to do or they used to do, like for the elderly, where they cannot walk very well, they are thinking about the time that they can run or they can do things efficiently. But when they come to the time that they cannot do it in that way anymore, so they feel miserable about it and try and long for it. So I pointed out to them that this is the way that they create suffering for their own life, create suffering for themselves, because that the first thing that we have to deal with this situation is that we try to accept things as they are, because that if we not accept it, there's a feeling of trying to refuse it, trying to get rid of it, or trying to be away from it. This creates suffering, because that life cannot be as we expect it to be. It is like this. If it happened to us, what we can do is that to try to do our best on the situation as it happened to us. So in this way, instead of thinking about the time that we used to be able to do things better than this time, we just come back, accept the situation, and try to think that what is the best thing that we can do it right now. For me, when we have to deal with our physical pain, our illness, is a time that we have to come back to be with our own body. Because usually when we're strong, when we be able to do things as we like, we tend to focus our attention to many things outside. So a lot of people work a lot, but when they are in this kind of situation, it's the time they have to stop and come back and see the reality of life, the reality of the body. So in this way, this is the opportunity for us to learn, to understand about our own life. Something that we don't usually want to look at it, but when the situation forces us to look at it and try to do our best on it, we will learn a lot. And as I tried to explain it before, that when we deal with physical pain, it's not only the pain in the physical level, but also there's a pain in the mind. And if we develop the skill to be able to deal with the pain in the mind, we be able to stay with this situation in a better way. For some, they could even find happiness, but it's not happiness from having pain or enjoying being pain. No, it's not like that. But the happiness from seeing that we do have the ability inside to deal with this kind of situation in a good way. We have our resources inside, the inner resources that we can bring in positive energy, positive feeling that help us to even find happiness in the difficult time. And in this way, it helps us to remind that in our everyday life, if we could do develop ourselves to do the wholesome thing that in Buddhism we call Ariyasap, the wholesome thing that we have done, the good thing that we have done in our life, it becomes something that we can think about, something that can bring in positive energy when we think about it, and it helps us to deal with difficult situations like physical pain. So in this way, that instead of seeing that when you have to deal with your illness or dealing with your physical pain, instead of seeing it in a negative way, you see it that is really the opportunity that we can develop our understanding about how our mind reacts to all this physical pain. And we know that deep down we have this ability that we can deal with it, stay with it, and even be able to find happiness from observing it, seeing it. The true inner happiness from dealing with physical pain is that when you come to the level that you see that all this pain, whether it's physical or mental pain, it is a thing that not impermanent. The thing that is not permanent is keep changing all the time. It comes and goes. So you use your direct experiences to prove the teaching of the Buddha that all of this thing is anicca, impermanent. It comes and goes. It never stays with us for too long. And this brings you wisdom and happiness.